Family shifts across the seasons of our lives. Babies, teens, adult children, illnesses, aging parents, all of this happening alongside vet med. Today, we talk about family, identity, and the coping skills that help us weather each season. Let's get started.
Hi, I'm Addie Reinhardt.
And I'm Ginger Templeton.
We're both vets who stepped out of full-time clinical practice, but we're still deeply rooted in the profession.
And this is Out of Practice, a podcast where we talk honestly about life in and out of vet med.
This podcast is brought to you by Mentor Vet.
Hey, what's up?
Hey,
Did you have a
how's
good
it
day?
going? It has been a day. It has been a day. So I think we should just
Okay.
dive right in because our listeners won't know this unless they're looking at our
I changed
They may
clothes.
recognize. I almost
It wasn't
did, but
intentional.
then I didn't.
I actually had to go to vocal practice at a church, and I was wearing pajamas and a dress shirt. Or no, I was wearing pajamas and a t-shirt. And then I went to vocal practice, and I put a dress shirt and blue jeans on. But then when I got home, I just put pajama pants back on, but still wearing the dress shirt. So it looks like I'm wearing different clothes.
I was really hoping that you were going to say you went to the church in pajama pants and a dress shirt, like you forgot. That would have been amazing.
I looked presentable. I also took a shower, which was good. And thus my hair is also down right now, which is unusual. So I look
So
completely
this is
different.
a work from home
Yes.
tip. I know, like, we assume our listeners are going to be clinical and yada yada, but like for the work from home people, I always get dressed. I always shower. Like, I can't do that thing. I do sometimes roll out of bed and start working, but by like 9 o'clock or whenever I'm supposed to be on, like I have to,
Yeah.
like shower and get ready for the day, or I'm just brain dead. It just doesn't work
Yeah.
somehow.
I do think that
So
there are some tips around like having routines that kind of represent the start and end of your day if you're work from home. I'm
yes,
like, maybe I'm bad. I just kind of roll out of bed in my pajamas.
I don't think it's good or bad. Listen, right, wrong,
You're
good,
just-
bad, perfectionistic.
What
Come
are
for
we're talking
you.
about family today?
Yeah, well, we said we are going to talk about family. But back to this morning we
Okay, yes.
recorded. And so I assume these will be played in order.
Yes.
I don't really know. But if they are, we were talking sort of randomly about a variety of things this morning, including a lot about sort of emotional experience and regulation in real time and how we deal with stress and the thoughts that we have and all that kind of stuff. And then we went and we had our work days. And I had to like use all the skills
Oh yeah. That's nice.
at work. It was one of those
And now you have to
days.
completely set work aside and be present here in the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly entertaining. I'm mostly at a point where I was saying to you, eat the
Yeah.
popcorn, that meme where they're like eating the popcorn, watching the chaos unfold. And thankfully all the stuff today was external. It was nothing with my
Okay.
team, or like our clinicians or anything. It was, just other players in the veterinary world. And it's really always interesting to see how people
Yeah.
show up. So at any rate, but it's Thanksgiving tomorrow and we're supposed to talk about
Yeah.
family.
Family. When you said family, I was like, oh gosh, here we go.
I mean, who knows? Like, I have no real agenda. Like, I don't know the direction it's going to take. And of course, this is going to air probably in late December or early 2026. So it won't be Thanksgiving
It'll still
anymore.
be
But,
holidays, holiday time. And
well, and we always have the family piece with trying to be professionals and veterinarians and then have this whole other
yeah,
world.
how do you balance the family stuff? And I would ask like on a stratified level, both kind of your immediate family, because I know you have kids and a home life there, but then you also have like, your parents and stuff. So like,
Yeah. Well, and I think we intentionally didn't do big introductions of ourselves in the first episode or the second. And I think that the reason that we didn't do that, at least in my mind, is people do know us. People will know some things about us. And I think as the episodes go on, they're going to learn more. And I wanted to come organically. And I think the family part is a big part of that. So for me, people who know me are going to almost always know that I do have two children. Those kids are 18 and
what?
20,
Are you
which
kidding
is
me? It seems like
crazy.
just yesterday that you were like looking at colleges for your oldest.
Well, it
It
was
was
just
yesterday.
yesterday. For
For
my
but no,
youngest.
yeah,
But yeah,
that's
just
wild.
yeah,
Yeah.
for Lindsay. So our oldest is in DC in college. She is pre-med, but through chemistry. So she's a chemistry major. She has 4 jobs. She's like a crazy person. And then I'm probably not supposed to say that. But here we are. And then my son is in Manhattan. He's in fashion school. And so, like they're out of the house. They have their own lives. So my phase of family is very different than probably a lot of our listeners who are trying to balance the really tough thing of having young kids or school age kids and be a veterinarian. I think that's a really, really hard phase. And we can talk about it. I would love to actually spend time on this show talking, not this episode necessarily, but for me, I started my family in vet school. I started practice, as the mom of 2 young kids. And then some people will know shortly thereafter, our daughter was diagnosed with cancer. And so that really, really changed things. But even without that, I think prior to that, being a mom, full-time veterinarian, and trying to do both even reasonably well felt completely
I'm
impossible.
sure.
It was just the hardest time.
Yeah, it's hard for me to relate because I think, and that's one of the reasons I have so many hobbies or can have so many hobbies is that I don't have kids and I, you know, have never had that experience. And so I sometimes, I'm very much respecting those in our industry that have children and balance like working and kids, and it's impressive.
Well, and I think that it's something as a profession we've come a long way on in the last probably 10 years. I mean, I think COVID, for all of the challenges, did sort of force this issue of recognizing parents have responsibilities that have to be dealt with, and not just parents, but if you think about the culture of not calling out when you're sick, you and I have talked about that a lot. Like vet med used to never have a sick day, right? You just had to be there. And I think we've come a long way on some of these things, but I don't think, I think we can do everything right as a profession. It's just still a hard phase of life to have young kids, and especially culturally, where we're all somewhat fragmented in many cases, not all cases, but, extended family may be in different cities or states. Friends may be in different areas. You just may not have that support other than you. And if you have a partner, the partner. And so then you're trying to balance this career that you've spent your whole life planning for and these human beings who are completely dependent on you, and maybe you have some help sometimes, maybe you don't. So, it was a lot. So it was a lot when they were little, and now it's great. They're out of the house, and I
So
love
parents out
it.
there is hope. It just takes a few years.
Well, it's funny. I cannot tell you how many moms and, veterinarians, who are moms who have come to me in the last year or 2 and said like, "Oh, how are you handling it?" Like, and they're dreading their kids moving out, even though their kids might be like
Mhm.
3 and 5. And I think this mindset of like, it's gonna be devastating. And I thought that. I was sad in advance, almost like
Yeah.
an anticipatory
Mhm.
grief, thinking about my kids moving out, especially when they were little, even like middle school age. And then, something changed in high school. Our daughter was always fiercely independent. She still is. So we knew she was ready. We knew she was going to the right school for her. That was very easy. And that transition was quite easy. And then my son, the younger child, I don't think you'll mind me saying, deals with some anxiety, deals with some social anxiety. He's a little bit on the shyer side. And yet he just found what was right
That's
for him.
right.
He knew he wanted to be in Manhattan. He knew he wanted to be in fashion. He made it happen somehow, even though my husband and I are not at all in that kind of, artistic space. And it made it easier to send him because we knew he was being pulled to
Mhm.
something. But still hard, to think about letting your kids go. And then I've leaned
Yeah.
into it. So I've really embraced travel and
Mhm.
hobbies, right? Like piano and all these things and things that I couldn't do before. And I love my job, so I get to like throw myself into
Yeah.
that. So it's a good experience for me. I know a lot of moms are a little bit more, sad and
Yeah.
grief. filled at
When
this
you were
time.
deep in the throes of practice and, practice ownership, kids, cancer diagnosis, like how, I don't know, just how. Like,
Well, I mean, we could talk about cancer. Like we could actually take some episodes and actually talk about cancer, but that was one of those situations where you just do it because you have to and you have no other choice. There's a woman, I'm going to say her name. I don't think she'll mind. She's a veterinary surgeon. She doesn't practice anymore, but her name is Maria Faria. And she was very important to me when I was in school and was always seemed to be on clinics when I was on clinics, and has stayed a friend. And she was distant, in a different state, but very much by my side digitally throughout cancer. And she said so many things that just gave me peace. And one of them was, people will say, nothing happens without a reason. This happens for a reason, that kind of thing. She goes, this doesn't have a reason.
yeah,
It's just
just
bad
sucks.
luck. And everybody has bad luck, right? Like everybody has something that sucks that happens to them. And as it sounds cruel to say that, it sounds dismissive, but it was exactly, she knows me well. She knew it was what I needed to hear. And it didn't hit me as unkind at all. It actually hit me as very leveling. Um, it's just this thing that happens, right? And you have to deal with it. And it's kind of like being a parent. It's really, really hard to not sleep at night, right? It's really, really hard to have this teeny tiny human who will die if you don't take care of them, like without
Mhm.
cancer, right? And you
Yeah.
just do it because biologically or mentally, I don't know, your body just kicks in. Cancer was a lot that way
Yeah.
for
Talk
us.
about identity changes when you become a mom, I'm sure. And, I think how to maintain, like, did you maintain your personal identity in that stage? And, or was it, yeah,
No, not at all.
didn't think so.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. And it's so funny to talk about this now because I think if a young mom asked me about this, I would definitely share advice around trying to maintain your own identity and that sense of self, but also recognizing that if anybody had just given me that advice, I would have rejected it as impossible and they don't get it. Um, but I do think that there are a lot of things that I did as a young parent because I maybe was arrogant and didn't take the advice, even like looking to others as mentors in that space that I could have benefited from if I was more open to. And don't get me wrong, like I had some of that and I did solicit some of that, but certainly there were areas that I could have probably done better if I had been a little more humble as a
Yeah.
mom, as a
I
young
think
mom.
that's the thing that scares me the most about having kids, that has like probably deterred me from having children for the longest, is just yeah, that loss of your autonomy and your freedom and your sense of self. And I mean, it comes with great
Yeah.
reward, I'm sure. And you've got tiny humans and now adult humans that you have as part of your life. But man, the investment is a lot.
Well, and I'm always impressed by people who have the self-awareness to make that decision, to look at it and say objectively, no, I'd rather not. I think I was as much naive and again, arrogant. I will say it. It was arrogance. It was like, oh, I won't be affected by that. Oh, we'll send them to daycare and it'll be fine. And I won't. And then you have them, you're like, oh, there's this whole like neurochemical, hormonal thing. There's this whole like bonding thing. There are all these pieces that you don't really have a whole lot of control. At least I didn't feel that I had a whole lot of control over. Um, and it works out, right? But it wasn't anything like what I assumed or imagined it might be, especially around self and identity.
Okay.
Okay, so pivot. You said, you have the self-awareness of maybe not having kids or maybe being deterred from having kids because of that sense of self and personal identity. But, we're not just here to talk about kids. I think we want to talk about, it's the
Yes.
holidays. So right now, Thanksgiving, soon to follow Christmas, other, Hanukkah, other holidays that people may be celebrating where family is coming together. And, you know, it's like pros and cons. So I'm curious, you said this morning you had celebrated Thanksgiving early this year. What traditions do you have? And I don't want to assume anything, but how do you handle just the stress of being around people that you don't maybe live with all the
Yeah,
time.
I think I was definitely in high school, like the independent person that was like, "Oh, I just get out and go, and I don't want to be around you people anymore." I love my parents dearly. I was the youngest, so I have one older brother. He's 3 years older than me, and we were always very tight-knit family. And my brother knows how to drive me crazy. My dad knows how to drive me crazy. My mom, I love her to death. And also, we know how to get under each other's skins too. So we're all very strong personalities. If you can imagine four of me in a room together, it can sometimes be a lot, but we do love each other. We love to spend time with each other. So yeah, it's just funny. Like a few weeks ago, I'm like on the phone with my mom, and she's like, "Oh yeah, your brother's coming home to Crossville tomorrow," and I'm like, "Oh, nobody told me." And, I mean, to be fair, he didn't tell her until pretty late, and it was kind of a last minute trip. But I was like, "Oh, well, he's not coming for Thanksgiving, so I'll just drive on down." And luckily, I have the freedom and flexibility to do that with my job right now. So it's been a couple of days. My brother has two kids now. So one is around, I think she's around 6, 8 months old, and then another who's turning 3 in a few weeks. And they're
Okay.
fun. They are a handful. It's definitely the time any parent who has like two kids this age, I'm like, I don't know how you're doing it.
Yeah.
I spent a couple days at my brother's house and just witnessed like the potty training madness and the oh my gosh, the toddler right now is just like she's so sweet, but then she's also like manipulating and gaslighting and doing
Yeah.
all the things. And so it is definitely short doses for me right now, like with all of us. And I think we can all agree on that. And my mom actually said that today. Just like it's nice to spend 3 days together and then we all, part and go our separate ways. And that way we can have some really intentional time together and not drive each other crazy.
Yeah.
And I love my family, and I think tradition wise, I grew up in a music store, so a lot of traditions are around music. So like in the evenings
Mm.
we'll get out the instruments, play songs together, sing together. We like to watch old home movies on VHS. That's always fun.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think we just tend to like make food together and hang out. There's really not much around my parents' house. They live out in the middle of nowhere in Crossville, Tennessee. And so when you're home at the farm. They have like 350 acres. So we take little walks around the farm. Um, a big tradition was like going out and shooting down mistletoe from the tree. So we have like a tree with mistletoe
Yeah.
in it. So
Yeah.
there's just little traditions like that. On Christmas, we try to find times that, to get together. Again, it doesn't have to be on the day, but it just has to be together because the more and more families that kind of intersect now with our family, it
Yes.
becomes hard because then, my sister-in-law has her family and, four siblings or three siblings and trying to figure out times that all work for their families and their extended families and in-laws. And it just gets to be quite chaotic as far as, finding and scheduling
Yeah.
time. So yeah, we had Thanksgiving this year, I think on, November 10th or something. So
So I will say this has always been my side of the family. My mom has never really been one to be offended or have unreasonable expectations around whether or not we're there on a certain day or where we go. And I think as, you know, a, a young family, especially, and then also being in a profession where you often have to work around the holidays, like that was the most liberating, freeing thing when I saw others and still see people who there's such expectation around you must be here at this certain day, event, tradition. I think it loses sight of the point, and creates pressures for people that take away.
yeah.
Then it makes it even harder to just enjoy the
Yeah.
holiday and get something
I
out
would
of
say
it.
that's true.
Um, s
Obviously, there's religious traditions that require day of practices and things like that. That might be an exception.
Sure, and no
Yeah,
judgment, right? But I will say my family's incredibly, my parents are quite religious, but even
yeah,
with
that's nice.
that, um, you know, we have been very lucky in that regard that it wasn't a guilt
Yeah.
or an expectation that we be there. And I see families where both sides, want the family there at the certain time or the certain day. And I just think that, I feel for them. I think that can be
Yeah.
hard. I hope as my kids get older, I'll be flexible. I think I will be. I'm not super
Yeah.
sentimental. So, yeah, I think it'll be more just like come home, bring your whoever,
Yeah.
right? Significant others or friends or whatever. And if you're here, when you're here, we'll make it happen. It sounds like that's what
Yeah.
your family's
Yeah. And I
doing.
want to hear your answer to the question you just asked me about, time around family without them,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
getting on your
So I
nerves.
will say this year I made kind of an executive decision to stay home at the 11th hour, and that was a bit fraught if I'm being completely honest. Historically though, I will say a lot of the things we talked about in the last episode with the mind management and the emotional regulation, kind of preparing in advance if I'm going to be around family members that can kind of, stress me a little bit to go into the event, right? Driving there before I leave to go there with my mind intentionally set to, hey, you might feel a little irritated. You might feel a little stressed. They might say something political or, whatever that could be triggering, and then be prepared to go through that mental process that we talked about this morning of letting the emotion be there, feeling discomfort, thinking through logically, is this helpful? Thanking it for being there and letting it go if I needed to do that. And I really employed that in pretty stressful times if you think about, some of the family dynamics that various people have experienced over the last 5 or 8 years or
And family
so,
have such a
plus or
good way
minus.
of knowing your trigger points too. Oh my gosh. And I think
100%.
I need to practice. I've gotten a lot better at not reacting because part of, the pushing of buttons comes because I am reacting to things. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
it is definitely, they know you better than anyone else. So it becomes this dance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100. And we share so many things in common personality-wise, right?
Hmm.
Often, not always, but often, and so we can trigger one another, and it becomes this, like, snowball. I will say, I will admit, I think a lot of people who've heard me speak or who kind of, like honestly, this sounds weird, but knew me as a cancer parent, so they saw a public side of Matt, my husband, and myself as we were going through cancer and kind of how we parented, because that was really, like, we were writing about it and people were consuming it kind of in real time. Lots of people. There is this assumption that I'm this like elevated, evolved mom. I get this a lot. And I'm like, mm, okay, no, let's clarify, right? So there is no great mom. All moms make mistakes. All moms suck. And if you have my kids in here right now, especially my daughter, she'd be like, yeah, last night mom did this, this, and this. We push each other's buttons. So I push their buttons. My mom pushes my buttons. Like it's just life. It's family. So I think if we don't like make it mean more than it does and we just realize it'll
Yeah.
pass and at the end of the day we love each
Yeah.
other, that's the best
That's
we can
nice.
do.
Oh man. Yeah, I definitely find family is important. Family is changing for me right now, so I don't talk about this very often, but I am going through a separation with my husband. So we have been
Yeah.
going through that process for, about the past 6 months. So family looks a little different this year, but we're still spending time with each other's families, which is nice. We're definitely like still
Yeah.
friends and care about each other a lot. So that's been really nice. But yeah, it is evolving and changing, which I'm sure others out there can relate who might be going through similar things.
Yes.
But it's something that I feel like we don't talk about much at all as a society.
No, and
Yeah.
of course I knew this, Addie, and I really appreciate that you're sharing it, and I don't want to
Oh yeah.
over pry, so
Oh
I'm going to
yeah.
hold back, but I do think it's probably something if and when you're willing and ready would
It's
be
true.
valuable because how many of our listeners have gone through similar and we don't talk about, and I think the reflex is to say like, oh, I'm so sorry. And,
Yeah, people don't
like it's
really know what
almost
to
like, and
say.
like nobody knows, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Like, so,
It
and
is a
I'm sure
thing.
that you have a lot.
Yeah,
It's a
kind of like the
thing.
cancer thing. I
Kind of
mean,
like
not
cancer,
not
right?
like
It
cancer, but I
is.
mean, it is a thing that happens
I mean,
sometimes in life.
maybe.
But yeah, it is. It is what it is. Yeah.
Before we close, I feel like we should do something.
Okay. A takeaway. We always do takeaways at the end. Is that what
Okay,
is
a
that what you were
takeaway.
thinking? Okay.
Sure.
Takeaways from the episode. Oh, oh, oh. Sometimes, let's see. I don't have a takeaway. What's your takeaway? Yeah, what's
I
your
have a
takeaway for the
takeaway.
listeners?
Cancer is a thing. Separation is a thing. That's my takeaway.
These
These
are
are
things
things.
that happen
No.
sometimes in our lives, and they're hard, and we get through them. And during the moment, it is really challenging. Yeah, maybe that is the takeaway. Just whatever. I would say, well, we're talking about family, so there should be something in there maybe about family too. But I would say one of the takeaways is probably that stuff happens in life, and we figure out how to get through it, and just gotta go. Just gotta move forward.
We just keep moving. And I think if we can get help from those around us, that's always going to be, the more we can maybe be humble, maybe, seek out mentorship or peer support as we go through whatever the thing is. If it's something that seems small, it's still worth asking somebody, hey, have you been through this? Hey, can you help me? And I don't know if you've done that with what you're going through. I know that I didn't do nearly enough of that when we were going through cancer. And as our journey got longer and we got to know more people and I trusted them, then when I started to kind of listen and take advice and just watch what other people did to handle it, it certainly felt less
Yeah,
lonely.
there's definitely been
Um,
people that
so
I can rely on for sure. I will also say, oh, family takeaway, family in small doses if they drive you drive you wild. Yeah. No, I think using the same tools of like staying calm in the moment with your family, and yeah, for me, just dosing has helped. So short visits, and like you said, mentally preparing yourself for those moments.
And I think that we talked about, we're talking about life outside of vet med, right? That's why we're talking about family today, but also taking time outside of family when you're like, if you have to go and be there for a week because they live 7 states away, take time for yourself, still be your own person. And maybe your own person is going hiking or going reading or, you know, uh, doing some gardening. You can garden at your parents' house, right? Like whatever the thing is that gives you space and pause, you don't have to be fully immersed in that environment the whole time, especially if you're an introvert and you need your recovery time on your own. Take it. It doesn't mean you're being antisocial. It just means you're taking care of yourself.
I
Or maybe you
laugh.
are, but it's okay to be
I laugh because
antisocial.
I was I mean, it was 2 visits ago. I went to the bedroom and I was just, checking emails on my phone, just getting some time away from the family. And then Dad just like peeks his head into my room and he
Oh,
says,
dads.
what are you doing? Why are you hiding? I'm like, well, I'm
Because of
just
this.
checking
This is
my
why.
email. So I just laugh about the taking time. So if you need to go for a walk, that might be also a very helpful way to get some space from your loved ones.
Yeah. Yeah. So that you
So
can be a
you
better
could
loved
be
one when you
that's
come
yeah, this could
back.
also apply to being at the vet clinic if you need to take a quick breather and get outside the clinic walls for 60 seconds, and so that you can be a better human being when you come back. So all right, this has been fun. We'll chat again soon.
All right. I'll see you soon. Bye.